Hey there, friendlies. How's up? Welcome to the 22nd of September episode of the Beer Blades and Bushcraft live stream. I got beer. I got blades. And we're here to talk about bushcraft. In fact, I'm not entirely sure what we're here to talk about because I have completely forgotten what the subject for tonight was going to be. And I mean, like, forgot. I have no idea. But hey, I'm optimistic that between me and you guys, we will come up with something fabulous to talk about. I see Tenenbaum is here with me. How's it going, mister? Nice to see you in the side chat there. Nice to occasionally have you on the actual chat as well. On screen, I mean. I see Grace is here. How's it going? Nice to see you as well. So yeah, I totally forgot what I wanted to talk about tonight. It's going to be great. It's going to be amazing. What I do have here is a beer that I haven't ever had yet, so I'm looking forward to cracking that open once we get going. If you are here with me, I heartily invite you to hit that thumbs up. If you are watching us time shifted to tomorrow or next week or sometime in the future, I'm glad to see that you've decided to spend your time with me, even in the time shifted sense. You can feel free to leave comments down below, even though you're not here to partake in the side chat. Oh, hey, Dauber. That's a great guy. I like that dude. Those of you who aren't really aware, whenever you hear me, it's like, oh, hey, Dauber. That's like the way we greet each other during the live streams. So people are just sort of saying hi to each other. So since I can't remember what we were going to talk about tonight, if anyone has any burning desire to discuss something we haven't talked about before, then feel free to bring it on. Excuse me for 1 second. Sorry about that, folks. I do hope that I muted that in time. One thing that I'm not sure if we've talked about was creature comforts in the bush. Tyler had brought this up at one point. And hey, Nate's here. How's it going? Dauber says we are going to talk about budget cast iron. Okay, we can definitely get that in there. Outdoor Dauber recently got some really nice cast iron, which makes me envious. Some people have this amazing ability to walk into a thrift shop or what's it called? What's the big chain in the States called? Goodwill, and come out with some real solid gold for great prices. I walk into our local Renaissance. There's nothing there for me. Hey, Fox, it's here. How's it going? Nice to see you. Yeah, in the States you got Goodwill. I don't think we have Goodwill in Canada. Maybe it's in English Canada, but it's not here in Quebec. We have one series of stores. It's like a large donation charity thing. It's called Renaissance, or I guess Renaissance. Outdoor. It's not dox it outdoors. We don't want to be doxing each other here. So yeah. So I was going to talk about creature comforts, but Outdoor wants to talk about cast iron, and I think budget cast iron is a good place to start. We can probably discuss all kinds of things. Tenenbaum says there is Goodwill in English Canada. Okay. I've never seen one. I don't even know what it looks like, but I will just trust that because Tenenbaum is from English Canada, and I am not. So, okay, let's start with budget cast iron, because here's the thing. Here in the home, at the house, at Chateau Corbet here, we have a bunch of cast iron pans, and we have one or maybe two of the stainless. And we've got a really nice stainless pan with a copper bottom, but you can't beat cast iron at home, and you can't beat cast iron for like over coals or over a flame even, I feel. in terms of a skillet or like a grilling iron grill, or just a straight up pan. I think that, if you season it properly, it's naturally non-stick. Just, you can't beat it. Now the thing is, it's heavy. As part of my hey, Pine Martin's here. How's it going, mister? I haven't seen you in a minute. Nice to have you around. The one place where cast iron out in the woods does kind of tend to stumble a bit is in the weight. If you're car camping, it doesn't matter. But if you're hiking, 8 clicks into the woods or something, then something like a tin pan would probably do you better. I have got to get a tin pan. But like for me, stainless is great for pots, less great for pans, because I spend so much time scrubbing the ever loving hell out of that pan. It's possible that stainless, like frying pans, just take a different, not skill set, but method than what I usually do. But I'm not sure. Martin, you're going to be in Montreal tomorrow? But don't go away after this, or at some point. Let's talk offline. Marcus here, nice to see you. Dauber says stainless is great for. Hold on. Stainless is great for a bush pot, but it's just okay as a skillet. I've really come to enjoy my carbon steel camp skillet. Yeah, I think I would enjoy that as well. And you're sort of coming to the same conclusion as I did. Outdoor, we need to. Yes, we can talk about that after the show is done as well. And Nate says here, cast iron is so heavy, not on my priority list when I'm thinking of it in a luxury sense when canoe camping. Would rather pack your chair. Well, and that's the thing. Oh, well, yeah, that's the thing. There's no way to make cast iron lightweight and workable as a solution. Which means that it is kind of, it's a creature comfort, which dovetails with the other thing that I thought maybe we would talk about tonight. No, the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to, post my usual invite for anyone who wants to come on and talk about budget cast iron in the woods, creature comforts in the woods, or pretty much anything you want to talk about. Is it time for me to crack open this beer? Who's drinking, by the way? Who's got a beverage? I have something I have literally never had here before. In fact, I've never even seen this can before. I bought it last week or the week before. It's from Brasserie La Naudière, Alchimiste. Can I get this on camera without duffing it up? Okay. I have no idea what a Brago is, but it's some sort of a honey beer. Wow, that's really not focusing very well. Sorry, guys. Anyways, it's some sort of a honey beer. It's a 4.7% alcohol by volume, 473 mils. I don't know. It's something about honey. I mean, that's obviously you can't see it, but that's supposed to be like a graphic of honey. What are those? Beehive? Alchimiste Microbrasserie. Oh, they're in Joliette. Okay. I've had a lot of Alchimiste stuff before, but I've never even seen this one. Once again, as usual, Canadian beer, American beer glass. Whoops. From Morrisville, Vermont. All right. Pine Martin says that luxury items when camping: a chair, wine, and books. I like to always have a book with me when I'm in the woods. That's a creature comfort that I would not be willing to give up. I'm really conflicted about books. I feel that my voice cracked on me there. I'm really conflicted about books in that I love books. I love magazines. Man, I'm a magazine monster. But I'm not great about the waste involved in, I often say about trees that they're the perfect life form. You know, they can feed themselves based on nothing but earth and sunlight and water. You plant them next to your house, and they're a windbreak in the winter and shadow in the summer. They create oxygen. They sequester uh, carbon, and we pay them back by chopping them down and turning them into paper. Um, but I love the smell of a book. I love the tactility of holding a book as I read it. Specifically softbacks. I really don't like hardback books. That is that's a lot more clear than I tend to drink, but let's not judge it too harshly. Okay. There's definitely honey there. It's not overpowering. It's not like a mead. It's kind of crisp. This would be a good summertime beer. It's kind of refreshing. I don't love it, but it's pretty good. Let me catch up with the conversation in the side chat here. Pine says lecture items and camping, chair, wine, and books. Oh yes, and of course, I'm with you on bringing wine into the bush, or scotch, or beer. As I always say, I keep that for after I'm done playing with the sharps, lighting the fire. But it's a nice way to end the day. Brandon says, "Oh, by the way, hi Brandon. Bring a cast iron on weekend trips with a group, but that's about it." Yeah, if you're not like car camping, then bringing a cast iron skillet or Dutch oven or whatever it's a choice you really have to think about. If you're throwing it into the bottom of a boat and just taking it out when you get to where you're going, that's great. But you have to think about portaging. You have to think about all kinds of things. And if you're just, if you're just hauling your butt through the woods with a backpack on, there are many, many ways in which cast iron is a creature comfort rather than a requirement. And I don't have a frying pan that I bring into the woods yet. For that reason, because I love cast iron, but I'm not willing to haul it around. And I don't want to bring a stainless pan into the woods because I always have so much trouble scraping the crap out of them later. Maybe because I just don't know how to cook with stainless. Outdoor says, "Well, I'm not looking forward to it. I'll be humping a Dutch oven a mile into the Adirondacks this week. It'll be used for a chicken and veggies meal plus an apple blueberry cobbler." Dude, that sounds like it's going to be worth it, though. Absolutely. Mark says, "At Nate, cast iron canoeing. I find what matters is whether any portages are involved. Then it's a clear choice." Yeah, that's sort of where I'm going as well. Nate, when you said up north last week, were you at a cabin or were you at a campsite for that 6-hour chili? Because I imagine if you're at a campsite, then tending a fire for 6 hours and keeping it at sort of the Goldilocks zone was probably a lot of work. Tenenbaum says the book is awful nice when you're windbound. I bet you Pine Martin knows all about that. He's got a couple of stories of being sort of windbound and stormbound or whatever. It's funny. Brandon says a camp chair is probably my favorite luxury item. That's a couple of you guys have mentioned chairs, which reminds me of how yeah, it's a good beer, but it's not a great beer. It's not the best one I've cracked open in front of you guys. It reminds me of how Avid Outdoorsy guy keeps bugging Alexis Outdoors, Karina, about not having a camp chair. Plus, once if they should get soaked, they make fine emergency kindling. Oh, what are we talking about, Tenenbaum? Are we talking about the books, magazines? It all becomes clear. Nate says, if it's a paddling with no portage as he loads up. Try as I might, Pine Martin says, I cannot read books in electronic format and derive anywhere near as much satisfaction as a paper book. And I'm with you on that. I'm in the same spot, which is why I said I'm kind of conflicted about it. Magazines, I feel that I can read on an iPad much better than books. And I think that's because magazines are such a visual medium in terms of imagery. and iPads or tablets of any sort are so good at that. Whereas a novel, there's a tactility there and a weight to the story and to the book that go hand in hand that I feel doesn't translate well to just on a tablet or a Kobo or whatever. But the weight issue, well, there's the thing. I feel when I'm humping into the woods or paddling around or whatever, I, as you guys know, I'm all about the old school tech. So I'd rather have a book in my bag than an electronic gadget. You know, the only electronic... Okay, I'm going to start that again. The only electronic gadgets I really like to have on me when I'm in the bush: phone, maybe a GPS, something to film with. If I'm gone for a long time, I'll have a laptop. Well, I'll have my laptop to edit on. Maybe. Maybe not these days. Aside from that, I'm not interested in a lot of electronic stuff. I don't even want a battery-powered lantern. I want one with a wick in it, or a mesh. You know, the ones that are not an oil lamp, but like a gas one that you sort of pump and makes that sound. But Pie Martin also says that he doesn't cook anything for which cast iron is worth the wait. I wonder if cast iron becomes more of a creature comfort if you're doing a lot of stuff like steaks and stews and less, I don't know, like how does, like, Martin, what context is a cast iron context and what context is not? Do you mean you're not really doing a lot of frying, or do you mean that the foods that you're cooking, I guess, would not benefit from the cast iron in some way? Okay, you're at a camp in the northern sense. Cookhouse, bunkhouse, outhouse, water access only north of... Actually, that sounds fabulous. But yeah, I could see... Nice. And so that was like a wood-burning stove then, Nate? It was like a hunt camp, kind of. Whoops. Hey, hi, Hike. I didn't mean to click on you there. Sorry for just... I wanted to click here. But hey, Hike, how's it going? When I go at group primitive camping, we eat really well. We make the sacrifice of weight for full-blown meals. And Dauber, do you guys have like a designated cook, or does everyone take turns, or do you guys all just sort of get in there and cook together? How does that work when you're in the woods? Hike with Mike says paper and pencil is always online. That's so true. Oh, you're dealing with online teaching. You know who else is dealing with online teaching right now is Kevin Callan. Oh. I love it. Old school is the best school. That is my mantra. I'm going to make that my mantra as well. Pan bread. Like a bannock. Okay, here's a question for all of y'all. for all of y'all. What the hell? For all of you guys. For all you guys. Those of you who make bannock, do you do it in a pan or do you do it sort of the way I was brought up doing it? Yeah, you sort of make it into a large sausage shape and wrap it around a stick. Hold that over the fire. Sound off in the side chat there. Let me know. Are you a pan bannock type or do you like to do the stick? Or something else? Tinnerbell says, last time I was regularly tripping with cast iron, which was groups of 9 people. At that scale, yeah, it seems that a lot of people who do pack the cast iron, they're not doing it solo. They're doing it because they're making bread or stew or whatever for like 4 people or more or large groups. Nate is spilling Pine Martin's secrets here. That's why. Okay. Well, you don't need cast iron for that. And anyone who says that you need cast iron for grasshopper fur gathered from hummingbird nests is lying. Absolutely. Unfortunately, I'm allergic to hummingbird nests, so I don't think I could eat that. I'm getting a little behind here, but man, these are a lot of good points you guys are making, especially tendon bumps. And the evenness of heat is certainly a plus. That is one of the things I love about cast iron. I love using a material that my grandfather could have used and his grandfather could have used. But I also love the performance, the fact that you heat it up and it's hot. You don't have hot spots and cold spots or anything like that. That's why I like to do it if I'm to use cast iron, if I'm doing like a potato, mini potatoes kind of thing, or those tiny cabbages. What the hell are choux de Bruxelles? What the hell are they called in English, guys? Brussels sprouts, something like that. Where you want to get like a crispiness on the outside from the frying. I'm going to be hungry by the time we're done with this. Hilariously, Outdoor Dauber knows exactly where I was going. Sausage, eggs, stuff like that, yeah. Nate, that sounds like a great place. Mark used to hike the Adirondacks and White Mountains with homemade spaghetti sauce. That'd be like a big old pot. So Outdoor says everyone helps to cook. Sometimes we each do a meal. Other times we each make something and it all gets shared. Yeah, that sounds like anything that's sort of a teamworky thing was cool. When I used to go hunting up at hunt camp, like one person would take turns cooking. It wasn't like a formal setup. It was just someone would get up and do the cooking. Holy crap. It's not even 10 and I'm already yawning, guys. That's not good. Both. I think Mark is talking to my question of, do you guys do your bannock in a pan or wrapped around a stick? Thanks, Mike. It's definitely a thirst quenching beer, at any rate. Honey beer. Outdoor is also done bannock both ways. Baking a loaf of bread is done in the Dutch oven. I haven't done that yet. That falls way into creature comforts area for me. I saw Ray Mears do that on one of his videos, and I'm like, you're in the woods and you're baking a loaf of bread. I want to go camping with you, but yeah, I would love to try that at one point. I think what I would like to do is get, every now and again, I go into Renaissance to see if they've got a Dutch oven there that I would because we have one. We have a cast iron Dutch oven, but it's not one that I would feel comfortable taking into the woods. Two things. First of all, it's the household Dutch oven. Second, it doesn't have the kind of lid on it where you can put coals on. It's sort of a dome lid. So it's not set up for like camp baking or camp cooking very well. I'm trying to catch up here, guys, but holy crap, you guys. I'm a bannock stick guy. Saw palmetto palm sticks work awesome to cook bannock. I don't even know what a palmetto palm is, but saw palmetto. Oh yeah. I think I've seen that like on screen. I've never seen one in real life because of where I live. Over a grill or on a heated rock. Oh yeah, I had forgotten about a heated rock. Hey, Tyler's here. Tyler, I do believe you're the one who suggested that I talk about creature comforts, and Outdoor Dauber had suggested talking about budget cast iron, and I see cast iron as a creature comfort in the woods. So I've taken both these concepts and merged them beautifully, since I still have no idea what it was I had been planning to talk about. And guys, I just keep putting the invite down there in case anyone wants to get on and talk about any of this. Where was I? Oh, I got lost, guys. I have to find I have to find my place. Cast iron, I love cast iron. That brings me joy. Yes, you and me both. Here's interesting. I find aluminium to be better at heat distribution than cast iron. I remember the aluminium Alzheimer's link scare. I don't know if there's any truth to that or not. My Morris pot is a anodized aluminium. What I like about aluminium is the weight savings. It doesn't have quite the same old-fashioned feel to it that I really like as cast iron, but man, the weight savings. My problem with aluminium is I feel that all the pans I've ever had, and I don't even know if I'm remembering this right, okay? But it feels like all my aluminium pans have always had Teflon on them. And Teflon I do not like. I feel that, it's way too easy to get particles coming off. You can't touch Teflon with metal special implements, whatever. I don't trust Teflon. But I don't... Yeah. And aluminium is definitely less heavy than stainless, but I don't even know if I remember how even the heat distribution is on my old aluminium plans, right? I see there's a fight brewing between Nate and Pine Martin. It's the Ontario boys going at it. Like with Mike, of course it didn't get off the ground. Cast iron's too heavy. Steak, fat, fish, eggs, all which can be cooked well in a small stainless pan. I'm perfectly willing to admit that maybe I just don't cook properly with stainless. Maybe I'm not doing the heat right or something. Maybe you have to get it way hotter than, I don't know. I cannot keep it from getting really crusted up or really sticking. So I don't know, but the weight savings are definitely there. Oh, you got Lodge? You got a Lodge pan? I'm at the point where I think I have to grind all my cast iron down and just start from bare metal on the seasoning. Tyler, I'm with you. I love it when everyone's throwing in together to cook a meal. Now, not in all groups, but like when I would be on, I don't know, a school camping trip or something where everyone is supposed to do equal work and bring stuff and blah. There's always some damn fool who's riding on everyone else's work, And that's the guy you kind of want to say, look, do the dishes afterwards. But generally speaking, I like it when everyone's sort of throwing together, getting a meal together and laughing. And man, I miss the outdoors. Hold on. I'm just getting back. Creature comforts. Okay, outdoors, getting back to the. Hold on. Oh, my land. Okay. Oh, I'm so far behind, guys. Sorry. Outdoor says creature comforts: warm bread from the Dutch oven to sop up the gravy from roast chicken and vegetables. I may have to go and get food by the time we're done here, or before we're even done here. Grace has seen a YouTube video cooking bannock on coals. Interesting. I've definitely seen steak done on coals. I would like to try that maybe next year at this point. I should definitely get a square griddle pan. Nate, Outdoor got his new square griddle pan from was it Goodwill, I think, for a song, and he's been working on re-seasoning it. Shrimp jalapeno poppers. Nice. Or I guess we're a bunch of bushcrafty guys here. Shrimp jalapeno poppers. Yeah, I don't like Teflon. I don't trust it. I know that, or I hear, or I have read that sort of industrial grade Teflon doesn't come with all the Teflon. Doesn't. Teflon neck. Gonna start that again. I'm not feeling ideal tonight, guys, so bear with me. I have read and heard that industrial strength, kind of restaurant strength Teflon doesn't have the same pitfalls as the more affordable Teflon we have on our home pans. But I don't have restaurant grade stuff. I don't have like a wok that is made for a Chinese restaurant kind of thing. So it kind of doesn't matter. I don't trust Teflon and I don't want it in my cook stuff. I think the only Teflon thing we still have actually is a wok, but the Teflon is all like flaking off. It's the oil that is the factor, not the pan. But the oil, you can mitigate that so much with a cast iron pan hike, right? Whereas with things like stainless, you kind of can't. You have to have it like really dialed in order to not to. I made chicken breasts in my stainless pan once that were perfect and did not stick. But the effort was huge. The effort was huge. I think I'm catching up, guys. Mine's an electric top. It's one of those flat ceramic tops. I don't know. Maybe I just have to really work with it or Google how to cook with stainless. But I'm definitely not going to bring that stainless pan into the woods and cook over a fire with it anyway. Tabernouche. Really? MSR makes a perfectly sized camping stainless fry pan with an aluminum bottom. I've had good results with it. If Mark, if you have a URL for that, drop it. Obviously, don't put the dot in .com. Just sort of write out dot. It's something to trick YouTube. See now the camp specific stainless stuff starts coming out of the woodwork. Okay, so Tyler is actually re seasoning all this stuff. Yeah, I find that the texture on newer pans at the bottom is definitely not as smooth as I would like. Um, I have an old one that is you can't beat really old cast iron. The new stuff it's made to a price point, so there even though it's cast iron, you still have to work with it a lot more to make it into a really good cooking solution. A lot rougher. There isn't the same level of workmanship that goes into it. I mean, you can still have, if you put in the work, you can still get a really good cast iron pan going. But you know, okay, Nate, outdoor dauber, good scorer. You could just say that at random at any point during the day or night, and it will be true. This guy, um, you know, I'll get this message pop up on the phone. Hey, check out what I just got. And it'll be like, I don't know. He got an amazing Swiss Army knife for $1.50 at Goodwill, or he got that griddle for like $2.99 at Goodwill, or he walked into a secondhand store and there just happened to be a Rolls Royce sitting there for $5. It's crazy, frustrating, but he's a good guy, so we'll just let it go. So he followed up your comment with this, in fact. And Tyler says, "Someone take away Dauber's shopping privilege." Absolutely. I said that I've been put on a 6-month bush stuff shopping moratorium. I think I mentioned that in a previous live stream, and I mean I don't disagree with it. It wasn't done out of anger. It was just we were organizing my bush stuff, and the wife said, get this stuff organized. And I was trying, and there was just so much of it, and there was a lot of it that I never use. So she said, you know what? For the next 6 months, don't buy anything related to bushcraft, which will give me a chance, if COVID lets me go outside, to really see what I have that I use versus what I have that just never gets used. And then I can off-gas the stuff that I just never touch and make room for, things that I have such a different view of my equipment needs and wants at this point that I feel that many of the things I have are things I would not buy now. And so maybe getting rid of stuff before just buying more crap is the way to do it, especially because this is not a large house. Even if this was a large house, you only ever have a finite amount of space. So anyways, I'm not angry about it. I think it'll be good for me. Especially because as paddling is taking up more and more of my headspace and my plans for the future, I don't have anything paddling oriented, and I don't want to spend a vast amount of money on like really high end stuff right now or anything, but I do want to start planning, because as I didn't get to go on my canoe trip with Pine Martin in May because of the COVIDs. And yesterday our government here in Quebec announced that we were officially in the second wave here. My city got shifted from like a yellow state of, I don't know if you guys all have the same colors, but there's green, yellow, orange, red, and we got shifted from yellow to orange. So I had sort of started talking with Martin about maybe doing a late summer, early fall kind of thing, but if it wasn't worth picking up the conversation again because we're still in a pandemic and we may be in a pandemic till next summer. So I'm in no hurry to start buying a bunch of paddling stuff. And for the same reason, I'm in no hurry to buy any bush stuff. So to me, a 6-month moratorium doesn't really hurt. it just gives me the chance to look at what I've got, look at the stuff that I keep unpacking as I'm looking for something else and then packing away again. Man, it's going to be good for me. Predicting the imminent arrival of the slimy one. Are you talking about Simo? Is that who you're talking about? That's not very nice. But he probably appreciates it. Yeah, that's a good point, Hike with Mike. There's a guy that we used to hunt with. Do I want to talk about this guy? I don't like talking about guns on this channel, but this is an anecdote that just happens to be to have been a hunting anecdote. I live in a country where, in order to own a firearm, you have to take a course and pass an exam. I think the pass is like 75%, and then to get a hunting certificate, your hunting permit, you have to take another course and pass another exam, and again, it's 75%. And there was this guy that we used to hunt with. I won't use his name because this is public, and I don't want anyone to think I'm being libelous or anything, but he's the type that he wakes up in the morning, sits up, lights a smoke, and cracks a butt. Okay. There's clearly a severe alcohol issue with this guy. He once bagged a deer shooting between where their trucks were parked, right between the two trucks, and bagged a deer that way. So, like, he's not a guy who internalized any of the safety information that you get drilled into you when learning the gun stuff or the hunting stuff. And like, one thing is, we would get back to the camp, get back to the little shack where we would sleep and where we'd cook and everything. And you lean the gun up outside, right? Or you unload it and you bring it inside. Those are the only two acceptable. And in fact, it's probably better if you unload it and bring it inside, which is what we mostly did. This guy would just walk in, loaded gun, toss it at the head of his bed, lie down, make food, whatever. And one morning I noticed he wasn't even putting the safety on. And I know that depending on the safety is a mistake. Depend on your own practices. And the safety is just sort of like your safety net. Why am I talking about him? Why am I talking about this guy? But like, I didn't realize at first that he wasn't unloading before coming into the cabinet. And I remember that the morning where I finally saw that thing was fully loaded, safety off, was the creepiest feeling that I had had in years. Why am I talking about it? What? How did I? Oh yeah, because Hike with Mike said there's always some damn fool. So this guy, drunk all the time, with a firearm, in the woods, inside the cabin with us. This guy was the fool to end all fools, and I just don't have time for it. I don't have an appreciation for living on the edge like that. Anyway, I don't know. It was just when Hike said there's always some damn fool, because there's always some damn fool. Absolutely. Outdoor also bought a wok. Oh, you almost bought a wok. Oh, it was a 16-inch diameter. Yeah, ours is 16-inch as well. Hey, Simon's here. Salut, monsieur. Comment va? Okay, let me just sort of try to get down to the bottom of the combo here, because I'm going to post another invite to anyone who wants to get on and talk about creature comforts in the woods, or cast iron, or at this point any kind of frying pan or pot. Just Is the lid pan from a Trangia stove kit? I have, Martin, like a square. It's a real simple, like, square mess kit, I think. It's got like a lid on it that you can use as a plate, and the big part, like there's a handle folds out. You can take the top off, and you can use the lower part as a little pot. I think that one's aluminium. Trangia stuff is nicely designed. It's not, it doesn't feel absolutely solid, but it feels solid enough. I just jumped all the way to the bottom. Holy crap, man. I'm trying to catch up, but okay. So that's the link to the stainless Alpine fry pan he's got. I'm going to take a look at that later. I still like the old school stuff though. This shows you how far behind I am on the chat. Grace, if you're interested in bannock on coals, look up Green Moxie Magazine Campfire Bannock 3 different ways. Okay, I'll take a look at that. Outdoor Dauber is still defending his massive ability to stumble on deals. Nate agreeing and bringing up the lottery that I have not yet succeeded in winning. Austin's here. How's it going? How's it going, mister? I'm talking about creature comforts in the woods, and well, it started out as cast iron, budget cast iron cookware, but a lot of the guys here have some nice stainless or tin or aluminium. So we're talking about pretty much anything like that. No, I stepped back away from the forbidden topic, so we're just moving right along. Right along. 3 breakfast bannock recipes. 3. I'll wait for Grace to answer. Last year, Wisconsin had its first ever elk season. Wow. Oh, the first elk was bagged by someone shooting across a public highway? Is that legal down there? Alcohol and a lot of things don't mix. You're absolutely right. And I'm speaking as someone who does have a deep and warm love for certain alcoholic beverages, but there are a lot of cases where, like, when I'm in the woods, I've already sort of said alcohol is a creature comfort for me in the woods. I'd like to have a scotch or a whiskey of some sort, beer or wine or something, but I really don't want to be sipping on it while I'm doing the heavy work of getting a campfire up or getting a campsite up or swinging an axe or using a knife in any case other than slicing my steak. And the idea of like this guy, sitting in a hunting blind with a 6 of bud sitting by him. Anyway, if you're drinking alcohol for any reason other than an enjoyment of the taste and the substance, then it's entirely possible you should be seeking help. If you're drinking because you can't deal with life without it, like this guy obviously was, or because you're dealing with something in your life, or because you just need it to get through the next hour of the day, then you're in a dangerous position. And you have to seek help, because not many people are strong enough to overcome an addiction by themselves. Some people are fine, but not everyone is. For me, some booze at a campsite, that is firmly in the creature comfort zone. I don't require it very often when I'm in the woods, I say that like I'm very often in the woods at all at this point. But you know, in a COVID-free world, I don't always have libations with me in the woods. If I'm out overnight or something, I do like to kick back and listen to the night, you know, with a drink. But it's not going to kill me not to have it, you know. Okay, Green Moxie Magazine YouTube channel. Okay, we got all kinds of links here. Hey, Dr. Sharp is here. How's it going? Dr. Sharp, what we are discussing is creature comforts in the woods and cast iron frying pans in the woods. And suddenly I'll call all kinds of cookware in the woods. And I'm inviting people to come on to talk about any of that so that you're not only listening to my boring ass voice, but so far nobody has bagged the that nobody is bit. Nobody's whatevs. You know what I'm saying? Oh, you just got back from a couple of days of camping. Where were you? Hey, man. How's it going?
Hey, wow, my hair's a mess.
It's okay. So is mine.
What's that?
So is mine.
Yeah.
Mine's at least like 5 millimeters long. I just gotta deal with that.
Cheers to Tuesday night.
Tuesday night. What are you having?
Bourbon and ginger ale.
Okay, so what bourbon are you drinking right now?
Maker's Mark.
Maker's Mark. I haven't tried that yet. I have tried Knob Creek, like the straight bourbon.
Sure.
It's okay. Didn't love it. I bought 2 bottles of it, and I don't know if I'll do it again. But
it's
I find
definitely an experience.
Yeah.
It's more than whiskey, but not as, in my mind, not as bad as Scotch. I can't. Scotch is like turpentine to me.
Oh, really? Scotch is my comfort zone. Scotch is my thing. What's becoming my workhorse bourbon is the Woodford Reserve straight.
Okay.
Have you had that one? It's got like the flat bottle.
No.
What I like about it is it has all sort of the usual sweetness and caramelliness of bourbon, but like Knob Creek, there's some kind of there's an edge to it that I don't find. And I mean, I'm a Scotch drinker, so I'm okay with edge, but there's an edge to Knob Creek that I just have to get used to. But in Canada, $50 a bottle, $52 for the straight. Getting used to it, if that takes like 4 bottles, maybe it wasn't worth the trip when there are all kinds of other bourbons out there. You know?
Yeah, I like Makers. It's if you want to sip it on its own, it tastes pretty good. Ginger ale or Sprite or 7-Up, like I pour like 2 parts bourbon on ice, and then I just kind of sweeten it up with ginger ale is my favorite.
Okay.
But
I'm still working on the 5th recipe in my 4-part essence of bushcraft. Yeah, because Canoe Hound Adventures challenged me to come up with something, and I think I've finally got it. I don't have it dialed in yet, but he wants it based on bourbon and cola, which are 2 drinks that I don't have a lot of experience with, to be honest with you. I discovered. Excuse me, hold on. I discovered bourbon thanks to COVID. Because I think
a lot of us have discovered all kinds of alcohol during COVID.
You know where I'm coming from here. This is a creature comfort thing. But I don't have a lot of experience working with bourbon, and I don't ever drink Coke, so I don't have a lot of experience working with Coke either. So I made a lot of disgusting drinks while trying to find a flavor profile that would work with those 2 things. But I think I got something for him now. I'm gonna experiment with it a little bit, and then I'll make a video on it.
Cool. Well, I hopped on because you had said that the discussion for tonight was, I guess I gathered cookware. It started off as cast iron and then has spread.
Yeah.
Well, I just recently moved into my first house and I'm unpacking things and I'm going through camp and I just moved in like a boatload of my camping gear. And so I thought maybe if you were interested, I would give you a show and tell of what I have and what I do and don't like.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I'll start off with the iron. This is like a friend of mine owned a restaurant.
Mm.
This is my head for scale.
That is the perfect size.
Yeah,
I
dude.
don't have one of those for camping with, but yeah.
I don't know. It's a D number 3 SK made in the USA. It's older, but I don't think it's like super rare. There's the marks.
Hmm.
But yeah, and then I put this little like ring and deal
Like a
on here.
lanyard. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So we've cooked bacon on this in the woods. It's pretty cool. It was my friend. She owned a restaurant and like would bake like pot pies or
Yeah.
like cobblers in these as kind of like a share size.
Mm-hmm.
So, and then she had a bunch of them and gave me one. And that's a favorite of mine. And these two things are things that are going in boxes to a friend of mine as a gear hand-me-downs. But have you ever heard of Mini Bowl Design?
No.
No? I have another one of his stoves that's pretty cool, but he does like the most precision like soda can stoves that you've
Wow.
ever seen.
Holy crap. How does he do that?
He like press fits them and like so this is kind of cool because this is like a rocket stove of sorts.
Mm-hmm.
And so you put your fuel in here.
Yeah.
And then you put this little bolt or wing screw in here and you fuel or seal off your fuel like this. And then you, around this wick here on the bottom,
mm-hmm.
you put fuel there and you light the outside and it primes the stove and then it burns out the nozzles there.
Okay.
And the design is awesome and the work is really great, but it's like not one of those that you can sit and like simmer. It's like I'm doing the Appalachian Trail and I'm boiling water every night for oatmeal or rice or beans or whatever.
You got to keep an eye on it.
Yeah. And so it's one of those that I wanted to like, but I don't know as if though, and I think maybe I'm not the only one, but there's a lot of things that I've got over the years that I didn't really know what I was getting into when I bought it.
That's kind of what I was talking about just before you came on. I was talking about how my wife put me on a 6-month spending moratorium for bush gear.
Oh.
Because we were organizing my stuff, and there's a lot of things that I bought exactly that way. I wasn't really sure I didn't really know what direction I was headed in. And so I'll take the next 6 months to really nail that down and maybe off-gas what I'm never going to use.
Yeah. So this is one that I really wanted to like, and I'm passing on. The old Whisper Light.
Oh.
I hate it.
Oh, yeah? Why?
God.
Those are pretty popular.
Yeah, I know. I've tried cleaning it a million times. I'm sure there's something I'm not doing right, but man, I've been boiling water like camping for mac and cheese or whatever dinner, and I nearly started dozens of grass fires when the stove goes out and I've got the bottle pressurized and fuel is not burning and leaks all over the ground, and then you try and relight it and
cause a wildfire.
Yeah. So because I don't want to be on national news for a major catastrophe. There's people that know these far better than I do.
Yeah.
I don't think there's anything necessarily fundamentally wrong with them, but my patience for them is not really
Is
there.
low. Yeah. By the way, is that a rugby ball behind your head?
It's a half of a foam football. So this is like a steel rack, and I'm tall enough that if I'm here at my workbench
You'll
and I bend my head back, I get this corner of this steel. So
okay.
my solution was a foam football. It's saved me from many cursing.
Okay, I get it.
It's not the most beautiful of live stream backdrops, but
yeah,
this is my favorite. The firebox. It's all covered in char and
that's the way they should look, though.
yeah. But
right?
Man alive, we have had so much fun with this, and had bonfires in so many places where you maybe shouldn't have bonfires, because we've had this to kind of contain our little adventure. And I got this back in 2013 or 2014. So I would say kind of early on when he was launching these.
Yeah.
And I like it because it doesn't, he doesn't, there isn't anything with it that you can't replicate that you see in his videos. Like if you're committed enough to, one thing I've wanted to do that I haven't is where he takes the zebra pot and makes it like an
oven? Is that where he puts it on its side kind of thing?
Yep.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I've seen that a couple of times.
I've got one of the big zebra pots, but this is one of the little zebra pots.
Mm-hmm.
Real little.
Okay, that's a newer one with the metal latches instead of the plastic, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, this is one of his aftermarket mods, but this is cool. I've got I use it to organize like tea, and I've got espresso for my other favorite thing, which is
I feel you're about to show us a very serious creature comfort.
This.
Yeah, I almost bought one of those at Mountain Equipment Co-op back in the day.
It
works well.
Yeah, I thought it was gonna really be a gimmick, but overall it works well. Now this will lead me into my last show and tell. But this is really my favorite kind of stove, is the no frills, like eBay MSR pocket rocket knockoff.
Yeah, I got one of those too. It came in like a little plastic orange thing.
Yep.
Yep, same one.
And I have, while it is not true to form as building a fire and whatnot, I only use the espresso maker on this because I don't want to get this all I don't want to burn all the seals from like a over the top campfire.
Yep.
So, but yeah, so I've found over the last year that there's some areas where I like the kind of old world leather, canvas, and wool.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's some things that I just try as I might. I'm a postmodern man.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's great to be a classicist until you kind of want to make espresso over a campfire.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. So, okay, I'll comment on the stuff you just showed to make this. That little cast iron pan, that's something that I keep looking out for, because especially when I'm alone, I would love to Just slap that on coals or a fire.
Um,
Because that's the kind of size. It's a solo only thing for me, I feel, because it's small enough that the weight won't. Like, we had this large conversation about the weight of cast iron before you came on, and how a Dutch oven, for instance, if you're camping with 8 other guys and you're making a stew, fine. But if you're hauling it on your back into the out into the back 40, then but something that small that I can just do a little lunch for myself, perfect. That little espresso maker, I'm glad to know someone who's using it, because like early in my relationship with I was about to use her name, and that would have been bad, with she who should not be mentioned online.
the wife.
Yes, the Mrs. I was going to pick it up, and I just, like you, I figured it's going to be too gadgety. It's going to let me down. It's not going to work. The seals are all going to be messed up, blah, 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 blah. So I never bought it. But if you've had one for a while and it's been working, then maybe I'll rethink that. Because another thing, like, I don't know if I've said this on the live. I've probably said this on the live stream. I don't have that many thoughts. Everything I've said, I've probably said before. But, my first experience with coffee was, cone filter.
Oh, sure. Yeah, the pour over.
Yeah, no, not even the pour over. The traditional. You fill a pot with water, pour it in the back.
Right. I thought you were saying like your first do it by hand.
Yeah, no. That was what my parents made the whole time I was growing up, and nowadays I make the missus her coffee every morning using a mocha pot on the stove. Right? Is
that like a percolator?
No, it's the the little thing shaped like an hourglass, the Italian thing. You screw it together.
Yep. What do they call that?
A mocha pot. Mocha. Okay. Does anyone know if I'm using the right term? Anyone in the side chat? You guys all know what I'm talking about, right? The straight up Italian thing. You feel a little thing with.
Yeah, it's got like the black kind of L-shaped handle at the top, and yeah.
Many people mistakenly think that that's an espresso maker. It's not. In fact, if you're using espresso ground coffee with that thing, it's kind of dangerous.
Oh, really?
Well, it's because it's a pressure cooker, right? Essentially.
Oh, so you don't want to block up all your your transfer of gas with fine ground coffee.
Yeah, you want like a medium ground. You don't want to fill the water past the little pressure valve on the side. Anyways, there's a lot of pageantry to making coffee properly in that thing. Use hot water. Don't crank it to high. Leave it around 8.5. Then when the coffee starts to pour down the side, you crank it down a little bit. As soon as it's done, if you don't pour it out immediately, then pour cold water around the tank in the bottom to stop it from. Anyways, it's a very.
Wow. I guess I was never.
It's an involved process, but here's the thing: if that's how I had discovered coffee, I would be a coffee monster, because it's a completely different world than that silly, carafe, paper cone that takes all the essential oils out of the coffee kind of. And I was always disappointed that coffee that came from that let's face it, the machine that most of us have, the Melita,
the bun,
whatever it is, the taste never rose to meet the challenge presented by the smell. And if
interesting,
it did, because the smell is amazing. The smell is amazing. The earliest memory. As I've said before, and for reasons I'm not going to go into, I have zero memories of my childhood and teenagehood. Everything's been blocked off somehow, and I'm not interested enough to go looking for it. But a very early memory I have is of when I was like a young, because we were still living in Manitoba, in Franco, Manitoba, and it was early morning, probably like fall or winter, because it was still pitch black outside, and I looked down the hall, and the light was on. I'm just remembering it here. So long hall, light coming out of the kitchen, sort of along the ground, the plancher, the floor, and up the next wall, right? The light from the doorway. and the CBC was on, and it was Zosky on, and he's dead, but he was sort of like the morning voice of the CBC for my entire childhood.
So like Matt Lauer of.
Kind of, yeah.
Okay.
And the smell of coffee, because that was my dad getting ready to go out and work. He was a construction worker, so early mornings, and that's that moment that's indelible, man. And so the smell of coffee has always been connected to that moment for me. And when I finally got to taste it, I was like, no, this doesn't. No, I was so let down by it that I veered right into tea territory, and I pretty much never looked back. I'm not against coffee; I'll still drink it sometimes, but not. But if my interface with coffee at the beginning had been with one of those mocha pots, or maybe like something with a metal mesh, or maybe a
French press.
French press, same, anything like that. If that's where I had first had my coffee experience, I would be an active coffee drinker, because the smell and the taste, at least they're holding hands, right? Smell and taste are never exactly the same. If you ever go to a whiskey tasting, right? It's like you spend all this time nosing it, and then you sip on it.
Lips.
Very, very different, but mocha pot or French press or whatever, you see the connection the way I just don't when there's.
Do you think the quality of the coffee has any bearing on the taste to smell connection? Because I would say that that on average, the quality of coffee that's being put into your bun, or whatever the brand is that you're mentioning, Melita, I think you said, is probably like, sweepings from the
supermarket
fair trade.
Supermarket coffee.
So I wonder in my finding that even when we do make it in the pot here at home, the better quality coffee shines through.
Okay, that's very possible, because let's face it, if you're doing a pour over, like a Chemex, that thing, or something, like if you're using an overpriced system, chances are you're buying, like we buy our coffee in beans. We grind it right before making. I grind it right before making the Mrs.'s coffee. And it's a whole different story than buying the chock full of nuts, that big thing from the supermarket.
Number 10 can full of ground coffee.
Yeah, there's all kinds of stuff. Like, it's just, I do remember, when I was finally like, I'm tasting this, smelling this fabulous smell, and then I was so let down that I just never went that way. But like all the ways in which I discovered coffee, working at one point in a third wave, cafe, very sort of, coffee culture and everything. Yeah. Everything in that context is so much better than you buy your supermarket coffee. You throw it in a number 4 filter. You put that into your thang, fill it with water and just let it go.
And I think you've mentioned this in previous discussions. On the inverse, though, sometimes in the woods, the cheapest of like Manchu ramen, or whatever the heck the name is, but the 40-second pack or 40-cent pack of ramen tastes like mother's homemade chicken soup when you're out in the woods.
Absolutely. And just to make everything get really real, that there's a border between you and me, that 46-cent pack is $1.26 up here.
Well, it's probably it's probably all those taxes that are going to the NHS up there to pay for all the health effects of eating all that processed food.
But yeah, you're right. It's funny how context. Hold on, I have to cough. It's funny how context can have such a lasting effect.
Sure.
It's like
Um,
context is key. I don't think I got to the end of your stuff though. I sort of got distracted by your little coffee machine.
sure.
What were you about to say though?
I was going to ask, when you've looked for these in the past, where have you hunted?
Secondhand places, Goodwill, stuff like that. I don't want to spend. I kind of don't want to buy new ones. I want to find old stuff.
Mm-hmm.
eBay is a disaster if you live in Canada because
Got to
even if
pay
you
all
find
the shipping.
the shipping is terrible, and it just seems to be getting worse year by year. So I've given up on the eBays. So I keep an eye out whenever I'm near a secondhand place or our version of Goodwill is called Renaissance in Quebec.
Is the Facebook Marketplace any good up there?
It can be. I sold a great camera using Facebook Marketplace, so it's been great for me. It depends. It's really hit or miss, but it's sort of like that and Kijiji are taking the place that Craigslist used to hold.
Facebook Marketplace and what?
Kijiji? No?
No.
Okay.
How do you spell it?
Kijiji.
Ki. Okay. I should look that up and see if there's Kijiji.
It's sort of like it's a next gen Craigslist.
Sure.
I guess. So I keep an eye out there.
I said R.I.P. Craigslist.
R.I.P. Well, that's still out there, but what was I going to say? I don't remember. But yeah, so I'm not like actively searching for stuff, right? I don't have the time to go, searching all the I don't have time. But I keep, whenever I'm passing by Renaissance, sometimes I'll go in and see if they got anything, or every now and again I'll troll Kijiji looking for that, or like a hand plane or something. Tenenbaum says Kijiji is Canadian's Craigslist, so maybe you don't have it down there. But I thought it was they got bought by someone. I'm just looking for Mocha Pot is the right name. Yes.
Kijiji is a subsidiary of eBay, says Simone.
My camp coffee is primitive but effective, mostly primitive. Nate, you got to tell us what it is. Nate
like
doesn't want to come
coffee.
on. Cowboy coffee, I like. I have it whenever there isn't a COVID around and we're playing the Alberta a festival in Alberta with my band. Cowboy coffee was part of the perks that the band they would have what they call a cowboy breakfast for anyone who bought a ticket or anyone who was a band. We all got free tickets to this thing, and sort of an endless cup of cowboy coffee was part of the
cool.
But to me, when you're making do you make cowboy coffee?
I don't. No.
Okay. Because I keep asking people like, okay, when you make cowboy coffee, are you the type who puts like a little splash of cold water to get the grinds to go to the bottom, or do you do this, with the, it seems that most people just throw a little splash of cold water on there, but.
See, I wouldn't know the first thing about, I would think you'd have to sift it through your teeth.
Well,
Nate I'm not says sure coffee, cowboy coffee strained through the side of my trucker hat. Gross.
God, I hope he's kidding. I hope he's kidding. So yeah, Nate's not on screen because he's packing for a trip he's taking tomorrow. I think he should get on for 5 minutes though, but no pressure. Oh yeah, so I wanted to say that little camp stove you have, the Firebox.
Mm-hmm.
I'm dying for the full size one of those. I have a Nano, and the Nano it's good for certain things, but I would love to retire my IKEA stove.
What's the IKEA stove?
You know that IKEA cutlery caddy that obviously IKEA sells?
No.
You know what I'm talking about?
Is it one of these like things that you can buy at IKEA for pennies on the dollar that there's like a hack out there for?
Yeah. I'm gonna find it, and then I'll I think it's called the IKEA cutlery caddy. Boom. Oh yeah, it's the ordning. Okay. So allow me to share my screen
Named
out.
after some suburb of Stockholm.
It's probably very likely. It's this thing.
Oh.
Okay. So you cut a square hole in the side so that you can feed.
It's a poor man's rocket stove.
It's sort of
I guess not a rocket stove.
no. It really is. It's a modern take on the old hobo stove from the 30s, right? With that they would make with a can.
Yep.
Yeah, you cut a square or any size hole at the side so you can easily feed wood in while you've got a pot on top.
Mm-hmm.
The problem that I have with it is that my cutlery caddy and my Morris pot are the exact same diameter. So getting the Morris pot to sit
and not fall off or into it.
And not like, yeah, I've had a couple of really embarrassing issues with that. So, you know.
Have you seen? There's something like the Firebox, and I've heard when it was really popular with kind of the European bushcraft crowd because I think it was made by like a German company.
Oh, yeah.
It's this like square thing that like it slides together and kind of like lock fits like so.
Yeah, it's the same as the stove you have, but it's the German one with the cutout of the fire on the side, right?
I think so. And it's got and like you're talking about, it has the cutout in the side for side loading fuel.
Yeah.
See, mine is, let me look. I'll do it for the live stream. I'll get my hands a little sooty. But this is the generation that does not have the fuel door in it, or that. This is top load only.
Okay.
So, and I kind of, it's worked well because the one thing that the problem that I've had in some of those hobo stoves is that when with this you can get ash like all the way up to almost the top and you can still have a fire going.
Okay.
But I don't know how do those work when you've got that big square in the side and you start to get charcoal pouring out the side, and does it get dicey ever, or with your
the thing is, it's always dicey with my IKEA one because it's got holes in the bottom and holes all the way up the side. So there's always like the ash is always coming through,
Yeah.
Yeah, that German one is really nice. It's pricey. Well, the one you got's pricey as well. I mean, but
what was I gonna ask?
I have that company's fire piston. I'm just totally drawing a blank on the name of the company.
The German one.
Yeah.
I was gonna ask.
I don't remember the name.
How did that Canadian like pot stand, like what do they call that? Like Swedish candlestick.
Oh, the what the hell is it called? Hi Nate. I'm trying to remember the name of something. Yeah, the plate the grill that goes on the top of a Swedish candle.
Mm-hmm.
Called the MIDI 001 by Sportes Outdoor Tools. Boom. Okay, I remembered everything. That's a fabulous tool. It's too heavy if you're just backpacking into the Bag 40. But if you're
the same as like a Dutch pot,
I'm not sure what a Dutch pot is.
Or a Dutch oven. I'm saying it's good if you're gonna use it in the backyard or at a base camp. But
I see. If you're okay, if you're expedition level camping, right? You've got a pulk or something that you're pulling. Anything that you're not just hiking a backpack into the woods for, I would bring one because being able to just do a Swedish candle and not be afraid of it going look while you've got a pot on it that's a great invention. Great invention. And Cédric Sportes is he's an engineer. He's not a civil engineer, but a product, like a design
engineer or
industrial engineer, I guess. I don't know.
Sure.
He teaches at one of the French universities here. Nate, how's it going? Been keeping up on your Instagram.
Oh, thank you, Jess.
Beautiful stuff.
Thank you. I'm doing all right. Yeah, and thanks for having me on. I'm heading back out tomorrow just for a quick Crown Land overnighter, and just wanted to expound on my dirty cowboy coffee method.
Okay. All right. Let me have it.
So much like Austin, I do own a zebra pot, or as us Canadians sometimes call it, a zebra pot.
Mm-hmm. And that's how I grew up saying it.
Yeah, and so what I will do while the pan is on the fire cooking the bacon and eggs, I will be making coffee either over the same fire or a stove with the zebra pot. And what I'll do is I'll basically just bring the water to a boil, tone it down to a simmer, dump a pile of coffee in to the pot, stir it to get it mixed in with the water, and then I'll let it simmer for quite a while, which takes some watching, but of course the longer you simmer it, the stronger it gets. And then the first time I tried this method, I realized that I had nothing to strain it with. And so luckily I had this old coal trucker hat of mine that I take with me sometimes. And so...
Is it like a mesh back?
Yeah, totally. Like a mesh back hat. And so realizing how badly I wanted this coffee, but how many grounds there were in this great pot of coffee I had just spent 20 minutes making, I actually took off my hat and strained it into my mug from my zebra.
It's so hardcore, man.
It was so good.
It's like Mad Max level.
And so is this a misfortune that's become like regular occurrence now, or was this a one-time?
No, that was a one-time thing, because after that I and thank goodness I was all by myself, but after that I realized how kind of gross that was. And so I've got this like little tiny old school metal strainer I picked up somewhere.
I love how you had to realize how gross that was.
Well, hey, necessity is the mother of invention, and that worked perfectly in that instance. So, and I'm not gonna lie, Jess, I would do it again if it meant groundless coffee.
But I like when I was learning about cowboy coffee, the two methods I had learned was, excuse me. If you just put a splash of cold water into it, apparently that makes the grounds just to the bottom. But the method that I would love to try at some point is what you would do is you take your pot off the fire, and then you give it an almighty and centrifugal. Would that be centripetal force or centrifugal? Centrifugal. I'm sorry, I don't completely live in English here, so and that force. And I know that you're not going to end up with a head full of coffee if you just.
I'd scold the hell out of myself.
But I'm still a little scared of it.
I have tried that method once, and it worked fairly well, but I would still rather strain it. And my worst fear is to always be like whirling this giant pot of coffee around my head.
Yeah.
And somehow something happens, like a squirrel knocks like a pine cone down from a tree, and then all of a sudden I've got like scorching coffee running down my spine. And the worst part would be that I just wouldn't have coffee.
Yeah, I
So,
hadn't even thought about the squirrel part. I was just thinking like you got to be of the opinion I'm going for it, and then I'm going for it, I'm going for it, I'm going for it, rather than as would likely happen with me is okay, I'm going for it, I'm going for it, I'm going for it. Fuck, I can't do this.
Jeff,
You know?
I would rather strain it through the side of my hat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That would be if you were some kind of a guide and you were cooking up coffee for a whole
Oh, totally. And it
crew
was
of
like,
people. That would be a great to have just like a dedicated hat to just
yeah.
scare the hell out of your guests with.
Or that,
I thought
like,
you were gonna say
that-
it'd be so
that-
theatrical, right?
oh,
Who wants coffee? Whoop.
Yeah.
Okay,
No.
who wants coffee?
Unless you're really good at it, and then it would be like your last day of the trip kind of trick where you really work up that tip from being a guide. Then you would like do the whirly bird coffee thing like over around your head like a lasso, and then be like, here's your coffee. That'll be $50 each, please.
Line up, boys, line up.
Yeah.
My worry would be that I could definitely do the wind up, but I feel like you would need some kind of controlled slow down, because if you try and stop your hand right at the bottom, it's gonna
splash,
go everywhere.
Which by the way is the really cool thing with those new zebra pots with the metal clips, right? Like once that handle is in the upright position, it's fairly sealed. It's pretty good.
Yeah, I mean it's.
Yeah,
I was going to say, which dovetails with the last thing I was going to mention about Austin is that I would love. I'm going to at some point get one of those zebra pots, because especially now that they've got the metal clips instead of the melty plastic.
Yeah.
I'm definitely going to try them at one point.
You should, and I love mine. I basically use it for everything now, like everything. I pretty much take that and maybe a frying pan with me now, and that is it. And I have the one where it's big enough to have like a little weird nesting bowl inside of it.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, in the top.
Yeah.
And, between that and a stainless steel frying pan, that's all you really ever need. It's great. I love it.
Yep.
Well, guys, I'll let you guys go, but thanks for letting me show and tell my recent unpackings.
Yep.
And you guys have a good evening. Nice meeting you, Nate.
All right.
Yeah.
Later, Austin.
Take care.
Take care.
So, Nate, what are you bringing in terms of creature comforts? You're leaving tomorrow, right?
Yeah. A chair is definitely my thing, along with a book. And then, of course, if I'm just doing an overnighter where there's no crazy portages, really, it's definitely going to be some booze as well.
Mm-hmm.
I'm still in the physical stage of my life where I'm really not afraid if there's only one portage to lug like a soft cooler with me, if it means having like a couple of really cold beers at the end of it.
Okay.
I'm sure that's not going to last too much longer, but for now, I'll enjoy it.
Yeah.
Until the chiropractor bills start stacking up.
Start stacking.
Yeah. But yeah, I'm with Martin on the chair and books thing, and I know a lot of other people are, and I almost think like we're at the stage with chair technology and the reasons why we go camping to get over the whole like, oh well, a chair is just this like fancy add-on, and I think it's just like more of like, well, a chair is something you pack like you would a really nice thermarest or sleeping pad, right? Yeah, you can do without it. You can sleep right on the cold freaking rocky ground under your tent, but isn't it way more comfortable to actually sleep on a 2.5 or 3 inch or even 1.5 inch sleeping pad? So I think we need to like just wrap our heads around the fact that like, for not a huge investment, you can buy a camp chair that doesn't take a whole lot of effort to take with you, that makes a world of difference in the comfort of what you're doing for the reasons why you're out there, much like sleeping pads did. I think we kind of need to get beyond the, oh my, you're taking a chair, fancy pants, right? Like you might as well just be like, oh well, you're taking a sleeping bag. Poof, where's your wool blanket, loser? Right?
Yeah. I have like a couple of folding chairs that I had bought for hunting with. One is just like a three-legged stool that
Yeah.
the sort of, I have no idea how I'm doing this, but that.
Yep.
And another one is just, it's a little foldy chair. They're small, they're not overly comfortable, but if the difference is that, or especially in October, November, sitting on the cold ground,
Yeah,
I think I know which way I'm going to go.
I think the other thing too, as more and more people get into, and this is a whole other topic, but I think as more and more people get into crownland camping, you need to realize that the campsite you may or may not be showing up to has absolutely no amenities. There might be no log, there might be no table, there might be no fire pit, right? So, sometimes that camp chair turns into a bit more of a necessity than just a luxury if that's where you're going to be having to sit on the entire time you're at camp doing food prep, fire prep, etc., right?
Yeah, that's a good point. Absolutely. And also, look, at the end of the day, I'm 2 years away from 50, so I don't have the same
Well, Jess, is this where I'm supposed to say you don't look a day over 41? You don't look a day over 41.
Thanks, man. But like, there's a certain age after which stuff like a camp chair or pretty much anything to get you off the cold ground means you wake up much sprier the next morning.
Oh yeah.
So
yeah,
like my philosophy about what's a creature comfort versus what is kind of, I don't want to say requirement, because I hit the woods for the enjoyment of it, and I think a lot of us do. But what's important is anything that makes my enjoyment of the woods a pure experience. Less trouble, less crap I have to deal with, blah. It just enhances my experience. So I'm going to bring my camp chair if I'm hitting a place that I know nothing about. Right? If I'm going for an afternoon, I'm not bringing the camp chair. I'm going to sit on my wool blanket. But if I'm going for an overnighter or a couple of days, especially if I don't know where I'm going, why not just stack the odds in my favor? My camp chair is very bloody light.
Yeah. And I think there are so many really nice light ones out there for not a lot of money. And you know what? I think too, if I was going into somewhere where I knew I would have the time to sit with, a knife and an axe and maybe create like a bushcraft style camp chair, that might be a different story.
The big A-frame thing?
Yeah, totally, right?
Yeah.
Or you've got some time to play and use your knife and use your axe and use your saw and create something you can sit on around the fire for the rest of your 4 days there or what have you.
Yeah.
But I know so many people that unfortunately just don't have that kind of timeline available to them, and they just need to make the most of the time they do have out there. And I think, I don't know, just the basic fact you can throw a 1 pound or under 2 pound camp chair in your canoe pack, take it with you, saves you a lot of time and creates a lot more comfort for you when you get there.
Yeah, and I think that I see so much more value in that than I did like 10 or 20 years ago, when I kind of thought I was badass.
Well, I think the book thing too, like the book or the magazine thing, goes a long way too. Like I think there can be a lot said to kind of, there's nothing I love more than like after you've made your breakfast and you're having your coffee and sitting there and reading an actual book with natural light, whether it's a magazine or a paperback.
Yep.
And just the fact that you're sitting there in nature with that, hopefully silence around you aside from some birds, and enjoying a coffee and reading those pages with a natural light instead of like a Kindle or a fluorescent interior light. Yeah, that I love that. I love that kind of hour or two you can have like that.
And when you're taking a creature comfort like that into the woods with you, is there a specific kind of book you bring, or is it just whatever you're reading at the time? Because I find that, like, I always grab for something like Thoreau or something kind of bush related.
Yeah, I will too. In the past, like in the last 2 weeks when I was up north at my partner Christine's camp, they had like this this thrown together bookshelf with a pile of like old like 70s and 80s and 90s paperbacks that people bring there and leave there, right?
Yeah.
And so of course I wound up reading some like classic like 80s Russian spy fiction novel, and even that around the fire is just awesome, right? Because you can kind of lose yourself in it, and then you kind of look up and you've got the fire and the water, and you realize, I think it brings you a little bit more into the realization of how lucky you are to be out there in that kind of environment. Sometimes when you're reading like the Thoreau, or other really heavily like nature wilderness oriented writing, you kind of think like, well, what am I doing wrong out here, or why am I not feeling the same thing, or why am I
Okay,
you know what I mean? So
yeah.
So I think sometimes, the whole magazine route, or the the trashy novel route, or whatever, the first Harry Potter book, whatever makes you kind of be able to kind of really just immerse yourself in the spot you're in, and take a moment and kind of enjoy it without all the accoutrements,
Right.
The modern life you left behind. Then whatever.
Yeah.
Whatever floats your boat.
Yeah, that's fair. That's definitely fair. Yeah, and I find that some of these writers like Thoreau and stuff, they're a little bit snippy about city dwellers, shall we say?
Yeah.
Like the way he introduces his book, I was reading it and thinking, if all the city dwellers packed up and moved out into the back 40 to live like you, there'd be no space left for you sitting out there on Walden Pond.
Well, that's true, but in Thoreau's case, in the time he was living in, that wasn't really a concern. There was no sprawl.
Yeah, that's true.
There was, I think that might be a bit more of a case in. Oh shoot! I'm reading a couple of his books right now. Big proponent of the Minnesota wilderness boundary waters. I'm sure someone will pop up online and tell me who that was or is. But yeah, he uses kind of very florid and descriptive language to describe, all the wilderness areas he goes through and what he experiences, and it's awesome. It's very it's the kind of writing that makes you realize how important conservation is, but it also makes you realize if you're reading it when you're out camping or something like that, if you read into it too much, it almost makes you feel like you're missing out, because of the way he's describing what he went through. And he was doing a lot of writing in the 60s and 70s, and I think the 50s as well. And you just, you can't compare it too much to that kind of timeline in that area. That's for sure.
Yeah, and it's funny because this is not quite related. This is not quite that, but it's related. Is that, like, I've read Nessmuk, I've read, Kephart, and the way these guys describe being in the outdoors, and a good pants made from pantasote, and all this stuff.
Yeah.
They give, I don't know, I'm not going to project this on anyone, but for me, they give me a feeling of what good old school camp time was, and I get this sort of. By the way, Tenenbaum is asking you if you're talking about Sigurd Olsen.
Yes, thank you very much.
as you said, someone was going to pop up.
Yeah.
By the way, I would take any reading suggestions you may have. I believe that
Oh,
buying books is exempt from my spending moratorium.
Don't get me wrong, Sigurd Olson is a wonderful writer, and he was ahead of his time in terms of conservation. And I love his writing, but oftentimes I find when I am reading his writing, when I'm actually out there, just because of how descriptive he is, it almost makes me wish, like, oh well, if only I was a little further up north, or if only I was, if only this was 30 or 40 years ago, how different would it be?
You're hitting on exactly where I was about to go, by the way.
Okay.
Yeah. These guys are all like, yeah, with your pantasote and your, tent made of aluminum soaked. Yeah, and how these guys are, I had a lighter canoe made for me for $25. And like, it's easy to slip into this feeling that was the golden age for outdoorsmen, for guys getting out there and exploring, and it's easy to slip into that feeling, even though it's kind of not true, and to feel that what your experience is, no, what my experience is in the outdoors is by definition a lesser experience, because I don't know, have pantasote freaking pants or something, but because I'm not experiencing the same thing that these writers experience, because these guys wrote a long freaking time ago. These guys were further back than our buddy Sigurd here, right? We're talking like a century or two.
Yeah.
So of course I can't be living the same experience, but through their writing, you get this sense that there's a purity of their striving to be in nature that it feels like we never do anymore, or we never get anymore. And it's easy to think, well, it's because we have all the mod cons and everything, but it doesn't necessarily make sense, because I'm not a person of their age, and you're not a person of Sigurd Olson's age, even though he was so much more recent, right? And so I have the same feeling as you're talking about in a certain way, and it makes no sense, right? It doesn't make sense.
I think the hardest thing for us, and it goes back to it, one of the things that Kevin Callan often alludes to is like, well, what's the minimum amount of time you should go on a canoe trip for?
Yeah.
It's got to be 7 days before you even start to think differently. And in that sense, I definitely agree with him. But when it comes right down to it, we're all just trying to grab the time we have and making the most of it. And
yep.
And I think even though no one takes, like, it's not like the olden, it's not like those days where, like, well, I will take this summer and I shall summer in southern Alaska, and I shall write about it in this cabin I rented for 10 cents a week. So that's just not the reality. Not the reality of the way we live our lives anymore, unfortunately.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think Kevin alludes to the fact that unfortunately we aren't able to spend more time disconnecting in the wilderness, and so we're left with grasping at the time we do have. But I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I think he's right in saying that, like, it takes a certain amount of days for us to, like, start really forgetting about our phones and our emails.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And what we might be missing by looking at our phones. But I don't think there's anything wrong with being proud or really trying to immerse ourselves in those 48 hours or 72 hours we do make the effort to go and enjoy the wilderness in.
Yeah.
Because you always take away something from whatever time you spend like that. Always.
Yeah, that's true. I do, and like you, I do put value in what Kevin says about, you need to be out for at least a week before you can really start to connect. I get that. But it's so hard, man.
Oh, absolutely. I wish I could too. I wish I could just, like, F off for 3 months, or for 2.5 weeks or 2 weeks in August, and come back and everything would be fine with my job and my
Yeah.
health, but that's just is not the reality, right?
That's why we got to start buying lottery tickets, buddy.
Yeah, tell you what, you start, and I'll send you a couple bucks every week for a pool or something. I don't know how that, but
I don't even know how that would work across a provincial boundary.
yeah, I'm pretty sure we might be bordering on something illegal right now, but it's worth a shot.
Grace says when they're camping, her husband can't seem to leave his cell phone alone. Drives her nuts. Yeah,
well, Grace, just be thankful that he's not a YouTuber, right?
Yeah, because I'll tell you what, when I'm in the woods, I spend a lot of time dicking around setting up cameras and stuff that I could spend just enjoying the outdoors.
I think my excuse that I've gotten away with up till now is that I kind of come from a photography background. So if I'm playing around with my phone taking photos or my camera taking photos, and I can justify it as one of my original hobbies before I really started getting into outdoor stuff. But still, no excuse for spending at least a few hours, quote unquote, phoneless.
Yeah,
just enjoying what's around you. That's for sure.
Yeah, it's important to remember that sometimes. Yeah, it can be because these stupid phones, man, they're insidious, eh?
Mm.
Next thing you know, you've spent 4 hours staring at a screen playing, I don't know, Candy Crush or something, or looking at your Facebook page over and over and over again. It's like,
so what I've done that's helped me a lot is before I even go. So after I'm out there, I don't have the choice. So before I go, what I'll do is I'll go through my phone and I'll turn off all the cellular data for all the apps that I really, really don't need to look at until I come back.
Okay.
And so what that means is that essentially when I'm out there and I feel the need to like flip through my Facebook feed or open up my email, I can't because I've already turned that cellular data option off before I left.
Oh, so you can't just turn it back on while you're out there?
I do my best not to. I think you can, but for me, it's kind of like a mental thing where I'm like,
okay, it's done.
Yeah, it's done. I've turned it off. I'm not going to go there. And it makes me think that like if I need to go into my settings and turn on the data for like Hotmail, like do I really need to be doing that right now?
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah, that's legit.
But I don't know, like some people might consider that like their creature comfort. For me, yeah, that's just like one of the best ways for me to take like a second step to be like, is this something you really should be doing right now, or should you just be sitting staring at the fire and reading a book?
I could lose hours just staring at a fire.
Yeah.
I could just, I'll just look into the fire and then like an hour's gone. There's something about there's a magic to a fire that it's mesmerizing.
Absolutely. I agree.
Yeah.
But there was something someone else brought up there. I think it was Simone about creature comforts can be the tools you take with you to hone, the objects you take with you to hone or tune up the tools you take with you. And I think that's a big one too, because I often gain a lot of satisfaction if I'm sitting there and I've brought a stone and some oil to sharpen my knife or axe.
Get it nice and yeah.
That's
true.
Usually you would think that would be something you would do before, but it can be a nice activity to kind of lose yourself in while you're at camp. And it is definitely a creature comfort to bring because you're lugging in, even if it's a stone or a puck or some oil, it all takes up space and weight.
Yep. Yeah, that's true. Especially because I use water stones, and when I have money, I'm switching to splash and goes. But right now, the stones I have are the ones you have to kind of soak for 10 minutes.
Oh, okay.
So it's like, okay, so I need a bucket to soak my stones in, or whatever for 10 minutes. Because like, I just have these little diamond plates, little DMR or DMT or whatever the heck they are. But yeah, if you can zen out to stropping or sharpening your blades and stuff, then it's a really nice way to sort of spend an hour.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
Just getting it.
Yeah. Or even whittling. I mean, even like a draw knife or something like that is a really nice kind of like can be a nice luxury accessory that can go a long way when you're sitting in front of the fire. That's for sure. Or draw. Sorry, I'm saying it wrong.
Well, do you carry like a little pocket knife with you for whittling, or do you just use your belt knife?
No, I have a Mora Eldris that I'll carry with, which is kind of fun to play with like that.
Yeah.
It's not like a perfect whittling knife, that's for sure.
No, but there's a magic to that blade, eh?
Yeah. So I do like kind of playing around with that, but yeah, my belt knife I try not to whittle with because it usually just means I'm gonna cut myself.
What is your belt knife anyway?
It's a more Garber.
Yeah, I got one of those too. Well, as everyone who's been watching my channel knows, that or this F1 are sort of my
nice. Now I came across I have this really strange Finnish knife. I came across a few years ago. I'm gonna say about 6 years ago now. And it's this gorgeous kind of ornate Finnish pintang knife. I've never batoned with it or anything like that, but it's one of like the strangest. Hang on, I'm gonna see if I can grab it here. I don't take it with me often because I don't see it as very practical, even though it is very pretty. I think the one time I did carry it on my belt, I have a Finnish friend named Zach, who's half Canadian, half Finnish, and he pretty much just laughed at me. So, but it looks like this.
Okay.
And I have that copper wire around it, but then I've at least waxed the handle. But yeah, it's a really nice knife, and it looks like a curly birch kind of go there.
It's what do I call it? A leku?
Yeah, I think so. Made by there's a maker's mark on the blade. Yes, Saki Arvinen, I think it is. Anyways, getting off topic, but if I was going to, I don't know, go to the bushcraft convention or something, maybe I'd carry that on my knife or carry that on my belt, and I don't know. But yeah, it's uncannily sharp even after all the years I've had it.
Yeah,
blade is it's long and slender, and for the type of stuff I use my knives for, it seems a little delicate.
It's was that a 5-inch blade?
Yes.
Yeah. My comfort zone is a 4-inch blade.
Yeah, that Garberg I think is a 4, right?
Yeah.
That works for me as well.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, absolutely. But that's a really, show me that sheath again.
Huh. It's kind of a tooled sheath, which is really cool. Then it has like this weird metal curve built in right on the end.
Yeah, I wonder what that's for. If it's just
ornamental.
Ornamental, maybe.
Yeah, I'm not sure. But yeah, there's like it's a tooled sheath, and it says "Made in Finland" on it, and that's about it. Yeah. Anyway.
Interesting. Because I've seen that blade shape before, and that handle shape, but that sheath is something new to me.
Yeah, like I don't know if I should be trying to fillet a fish with this, or if I should be like shivving Russians in a back alley. Like, I don't know.
When in doubt, fillet a fish.
I'm gonna go with fillet of fish as well. Actually, yeah. No one wants to mess with the Russians.
Now, would you call having a high-end, light as hell canoe a creature comfort or a requirement at this point?
I think it really depends on your style of paddling. I know a lot of people that go into Algonquin Park that their idea of backcountry camping, and this is absolutely legitimate, is to have a canoe they show up with on their vehicle. They take it off their vehicle and they paddle from the access point to their campsite. And
So they're not carrying it. They're not portaging.
no. And so for them, weight is not an issue. It's more about volume, right?
Yeah.
Whereas I think your more traditional or your more kind of modern idea of a canoe tripper is someone that like does canoe trips via portages, right?
Yeah.
So portaging is like a key aspect of that trip.
Yeah.
And so I think at that point it's almost a necessity. And again, it really depends on your situation.
Yeah.
So, for instance, Camp Pathfinder, which still operates in Algonquin Park, like they send out those hardy high school age kids on on like 2-week canoe trips that involve multiple portages with cedar canvas canoes and the the yokes are not yokes but thwarts wrapped in foam.
Right.
And so that tradition is still very much alive and well, and it's just almost a rite of passage.
Right.
However, if you were to try that when you are, 56 years old,
Whole different world.
totally different world. So, yeah, I don't know if I would call it a creature comfort. I would call it a luxury by necessity, or kind of a. It's like it's one of those things where like you used to wear a size 9. You used to wear size 9 Vans when you were 15, and now you're 54 and you need those weird white Balance. You need those weird New Balance white
Balance
and triple E wide, right? Like,
yeah,
I don't know what to tell you. They both do the job, but one's going to make it a whole lot easier on you.
Absolutely. All right, it's 11:02, so we're gonna call it a night. I up north of 60s just showed up in time for the end of the stream, but that's okay. Maybe we'll get you next week. So thanks to everyone. I'm going to start that entire sentence again. Thanks to everyone who came to chat on screen with me. That was fabulous. Thanks to everyone who kept the chat alive in the side list chat, or whatever they call that thing. I hope to see you all next Tuesday. So between now and then, stay healthy, stay safe, and be kind to one another. Thanks a lot, guys. See you later.
Thanks, Jess.